My windows are switching around.
I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jamak Golshani, and I'm not only a member, but also the president. No. Let's start with what this playlist is, then who it's for and who it's not for. The playlist was intended to give an overview of digital marketing as it applies to, first and foremost, a Toastmasters club. So if you happen to be a VP of PR for a club or a president, any of the executives who wants to understand what is involved in doing this is designed for you. Outside of that, speakers, coaches, experts, consultants who would like to build their own platform online and be able to later on monetize it, this is designed for you. So it's not necessarily designed for a brick and mortar type of company, but you could benefit from that if you're a business owner. What it's not meant to do is to give you the sort of A to Z of digital marketing in absolute detail, right? It is not the end of all in terms of internet marketing, digital marketing, and I'm using those terms interchangeably. They're a little bit different, but I'm using it interchangeably. So what it's supposed to do is to give you an overview so you can either hire somebody without being scammed, know what exactly is going on as you go through and do this, or it gives you a roadmap on what to follow, what to understand, what to go after, what are the steps that you need to take in order to be able to do it. So the information is available on the internet. It is knowing what to look for and what to go learn that's usually the challenge. And I've tried to remedy that challenge with this playlist. It's a lot. So each session is about an hour to an hour and a half. I think we'll take a look, but I think the shortest one is probably about an hour long. So it's an investment of about probably 15 hours or so of your time. I don't recommend you sit there and go through all of them at the same time, because if nothing else, you'll be weirded out by the progression of my beard. So don't do that. You should schedule it, watch one, then go do a little bit of homework, do a little bit of digging around, understand it, and then come back and watch the next one. With that said, let's dive in. What I'm basically going to do is I'm going to go over each one of the sessions and give you a little bit about what this session is about, so that you can use this kind of like an index of a book, right? Go through and say, I'm looking for such and such. Where do I go? If you want to do that, you have the ability to using this hopefully short video, right? So session number one is is called Digital Marketing Principles, Traffic and Conversion. So this is the very basics, right? This session was an overview. It was a little over an hour and 7 minutes long after the edits. The session was intended to tell you what digital marketing is, right? I deconstructed to two pillars of traffic and conversion, and then went over what traffic and conversion is. Basically, everything else that we talk about in this playlist is either fits under one of those two categories, right? So it was important for you to understand what the basics are. So I recommend watching that as the number one video, because if you don't understand those concepts, it's a little bit difficult to put everything together. That helps bring everything together. Session two is have a conversion focused website. So I put this one as the second video, or the basically the first video of the actual content, right? The actual meat of the thing. It was about an hour long. It was 56 minutes long. This one literally goes into how do you have a website. The reason I did that is I had to think about, as I was designing this, I had to think about prioritizing this in a way where people would be engaged, versus what I think should go first, right? But now that this is here, I can tell you what should go first and what shouldn't go first. You don't necessarily want to have a website before you understand some of the other things that are on here. So I'll tell you what to watch first as we go through here. But if you're keen on having a website and that's what you need to do right now, I suggest that's what you look at. You go into that, and so it gives you an understanding. This session will give you the ability to, as I said before, to know where to go, what to learn in order to put together your own website for nearly free if you choose to do that. There are some costs, and you learn that, but it's almost free. The session number 3 is called website lead generation, right? Any website needs to generate leads. Again, that's there as session number 3 because it is it, a a sequence of number 2, right? It's a continuation of number 2. So again, if you're gonna take my advice and go through it in a way that makes sense rather than a way that excites you, leave that alone for now. Just know it's there, and you can go back and learn how to put together a lead generation mechanism on your website. If you've never heard the term lead, that means how does somebody put their hand up and say, hey, I want whatever it is that you're offering, right? So you get to have their name, email address, some information about them, so you can reach out to them and help them out later. Session number 4 is called Basic SEO or Search Engine Optimization. It was an hour and 20 minutes long. Again, this was basically candy, right? This should not be here in terms of the sequence. I put this in here because when you say SEO, people's ears perk up, right? If you think about in the whole reason this I did this series from the get-go when I had a conversation with Janice, who was just starting her role as the public relations manager of the district, was because I kept being asked from the trio, the previous trio, how do we get better SEO? How do we do better SEO for our clubs? And I had to keep saying, but there is more to it. You can't just do SEO. It was the kind of to remedy my own frustration was to teach what else there is. And I remember very specifically that meeting we had, Janice and I said, I can't teach you SEO. I gotta talk about the whole thing, and that's gonna take a long time, right? So, 15 hours of content later, I think she'll agree with me, right? So the SEO thing is there. If you're a business owner, I'd love for you to watch that before going into a meeting with some SEO consultant that's going to come in and sell you on the service, because that hour and a half or whatever it is there will prevent you from falling into pitfalls and scams and whatnot. Google's map optimization, again, is very, very specific to Toastmasters Club or a brick and mortar business. I put it there as session 5 because it's a continuation of SEO. So when you're thinking about Google rankings, Google Maps rankings is also very, very important, right? So that's most of the time, that's the thing you're going to rank for first if you're a brick and mortar or if you're a Toastmasters club. In other words, if you type in Toastmasters onto your Google, tells Toastmasters Club onto Google, especially if you're on your phone, you will probably see the clubs that are in your area. And that is maps. And you can pretty easily rank for that versus trying to rank for, a Toastmasters club in normal organic search engines, which is a very difficult thing to do. All right, session number 6 is really the thing that should be session number 1 or 2, right? So this is where I suggest you start if you want to do this properly, if you want to build a long-lasting business online, if you want for things that you're doing, the activities in terms of making your website, lead generation, all of that to be meaningful, to be fruitful, to get a proper ROI on the investment of time and money that you're doing, I really recommend you start with session 6. It's called Developing the Client Avatar. Okay, this session was an hour and 27 minutes on long, and I can tell you I only scratched the surface, right? So this is science that you need to dig into and you need to really understand and you need to do your homework on before doing anything else, in my opinion. So when I go in and I'm consulting a company, this is where I recommend for them to start, and I work hard to try and convince them, sell them on the idea that they don't need to go in and spend $5,000 and redo their website before they've done this. Afterwards, maybe you make a decision based on data that that's what you want to do, but not ahead of time. So start with session 6. Hopefully you'll like it, and then continue learning outside of that session, right? So go out on the internet and start on the topics that I talked to you about in the session. Go learn more about that topic, because then you can create a better client avatar as you do that. But I'll tell you right now, session 7, 8, and onwards hinge upon that session number 6 again, right? So everything kind of it leverages that. Session 7 is writing season 1 of your email sequence. So session 7, which is just about an hour, a little over an hour, is email marketing, right? It's introduction to email marketing. The mechanism for email marketing was already set up in session 3, right? That lead generation session will give you the mechanism on the website to be able to generate leads, and then whatever tool you're using at that point of time will also allow you to send emails out to people. However, that particular session could also serve as what you do on the back end of things like Eventbrite, for example, or if you do a webinar registration for Zoom, right? All of these tools have a place where you can schedule emails to go out in a certain sequence, right? So if you're not doing anything else and you're throwing events, and there's a session that we talk about that, I recommend you learn that, right? So that session 7, the email marketing one, is my approach is a very unique approach to email marketing, and I learned it from somebody I paid a bunch of money to, but I've kind of developed my own as I went along and did this. Being a Toastmaster, you're a storyteller, and that's basically what you're doing in your emails. You're telling stories, and this is you do not have to be a writer. You don't have to. You probably need a maybe fifth grade level writing to be able to write good content for the internet, right? Because that's actually numbers show that kind of level of writing gets a lot better clicks, right? A lot better reactions from people than writing that's at a master's level, right? Because people a lot of times cannot necessarily relate with the words. You want to use simple words, simple sentences. Anyway, so that's where you go for that. Session 8 is content generation, very, very important. But I'll tell you right now, session 7, 8, and onwards hinge upon that session number 6 again, right? So everything kind of it leverages that. So for content generation, now you do need to have all those other sessions that we talked about already, right? You need to have a website. You need to, like, all of that needs to be in place before you start putting the content out there. Content is sort of food for the engine, if you will. If when you go through the SEO session, you'll realize that if you don't have content, it's not going to go anywhere, right? It's you're going to achieve some, maybe if you do some bogus rankings, and then they're going to go away. Google will eventually say, hey, the jig is up. we're gonna ban you, or we're gonna lower your ranking or whatever, and it's gonna go away. So I recommend for you to do some work around the content generation. I talk about a strategy on how to put a content generation calendar together. So if you have difficulties like, oh, I know this stuff, but I don't know how to produce content. I don't know how to put it together. I don't know the sequence, all that stuff. That session is intended to do just that. If you're going to hire somebody to help you with content, I would suggest you go there first and then have that conversation with them. So you kind of understand what's needed, what you want from them, and then have that conversation with them to see how much it's going to cost them and whatnot, cost you and whatnot, right? So then we go into video marketing, right? Session 9 is video. So it's a continuation of content. In my opinion, video is the best form of content when you are trying to create content. Why? Because one video, this session that we're recording right now, is happening in a live event as an example. So we have people that are in the live event. The session is being recorded. That video recording is content, obviously. The video recording can be chopped up and it's multiple pieces of content if you wanted to look at it that way. The video can be turned into, the audio can be extracted and cleaned up a little bit. And now you have a podcast out of it, which is a piece of content again. You can get it transcribed and now you have writing, you have written content, right? So whereas if you did it the other way around and you sat there and wrote an article, all you have is an article. That's it, right? So it's you got. I always think efficiency, right? I always think where can I make the biggest impact by putting my time in, because our time is important. It's expensive, right? So um, that's why I focused on video. Other types of content are just fine as well. I chose to focus on video for session 9, so that goes over a bunch of video basics, video distribution, video editing a little bit, right? The session was an hour and 34 minutes long, so it's one of the longer ones. We went into some depth, but not a lot of depth. So again, don't think you're going to become a videographer by going through that an hour and a half of content. No, it's going to tell you what's needed. And then again, you can either go hire somebody or you can continue to learn. Session 10 is grow with a social media marketing plan. So basically, this is about social media. This one, session 10 is. So you produce the content, you have the schedule, you have your website, everything is ready. Now you want to leverage social media to drive traffic to your website. This is how you do it. This is where you do it. This is the thing that's going to tell you, here, have a schedule, and this is, step by step where to go and which social media platforms you can use. Again, it's an overview, right? You're not going to become an Instagram guru by going through that video, that session. But you are going to understand social media as a whole and how you can leverage it to drive traffic to your website, and how to and brand yourself if it's just on social media, right? Session 11 is event promotion. This one happened to be at the district conference, so it's done a little bit differently. It's 50 minutes long. The focus here was how to run events and tie them into your online marketing. I think offline and online marketing should be seamless, right? So you should take your leads from online and be able to bring them into an offline event type of situation, or the other way around. You should be able to, when think about if you have a speaking engagement, for example, those people that are there will see you for, I don't know, 40 minutes, let's say, if you have a keynote speech or something, they see you for that long and then you're gone. You're forgotten, right? However, if you tell them, I'll give you an example, right? If you say, if you go and go on this website, I will have a gift for you, right? And they have to get on the website and they put in their name and email address, and then they have the ability to download something, maybe a video series or a course or something. That way, that person from the auditorium where you spoke is now on your mailing list, right? So on your mailing list, You have your email list. You have the ability to market to them continuously, right? You have the ability to tell them about it over and over again, until they decide to either become customers or opt out of your list. So that session is important. It is probably more relatable to Toastmasters, to VPPRs, or to people who do online events. I think a lot of businesses can benefit from, I'm sorry, offline or online events, doesn't matter, right? But mainly offline events. I think most businesses can benefit from having an event, but most people don't think about having an event or think it's too difficult. That talks about the digital platforms that exist, that allow you, that help you to do that. The last one there is my beard story, so you're more than welcome to watch that as entertainment. It's only a minute long, 2 minutes long. So that wraps it up. That wraps up the playlist. I hope that it was helpful, right? It took a year to put it together, and a lot of people have contributed to it. Specifically, Ray Miller sitting there and editing every single one of these videos. He probably spent as much time as me, if not more, editing these and putting them together. So he deserves the recognition, the high five. If you see him at an event, give him a hug. He deserves it. But there's also other people outside of that, Janice, Yuri, that helped book these things. People who volunteers who put the Eventbrite events together. A lot of people have worked for this to be where it is today. So I hope you can benefit from it and share it with people outside, so they can learn and prevent the business from being scammed, number one. And then also people hopefully will know that Toastmasters is more than just your public speaking, right? We actually help each other learn a lot of different things. With that, I'm gonna end this sort of segment of my overview. I'm by nature a problem solver and an educator. So those two, the combination of those two together are helpful when you have a problem and you want to learn how to solve that problem, right? So we can definitely jump on a call, talk strategy. I would need to understand where your club is at today. We can discuss why your club is where it's at today, and then come up with some solutions, and then evaluate those solutions and see which solution is feasible, and implement it. Try it out. It's trial and error a lot of times with marketing, right? You try it out, but the difference in my approach usually is let the numbers tell the story, instead of saying the numbers as in data, right? Instead of saying, oh, that didn't work. Well, are you sure? How do you know it didn't work? Why didn't it work? How can we improve it? So those are the things that data can tell you if you have data. So the short answer to your question, Janice, is yes. The long answer is what I just went through.
So we would ask people to listen to these sessions, find what you have already taught us, and then if
Yeah.
they have more questions, they can come to you. Thank you, Zhamak. It has been a marvelous year. You have shared immense amounts of knowledge, and we did not have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get a master's degree in digital marketing. We just have to spend some time with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this video on the Toastmasters District 96 YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel to watch replays of our volunteer-run workshops, contests, and other events that are happening in our district. Like this video to show your appreciation for the volunteers who work hard to run these events. And remember, we are all volunteers. Thank you.